Welcome back to another episode of the Adventures of a Disney Dad podcast. My name is Matt. I am your host, along with my co-host, Chip Robinson. Chip, how are we doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing well. We're doing well. How's Illinois?
It's cold. We got like 6 inches of snow today, and it has not been enjoyable, especially coming right off of the Florida trip. You've got a new baby, and I'm sure you're cold in Northeast Ohio too. So, how's the baby doing?
Yeah, so no longer future father of five. I am a father of five. Baby's doing well. Mama's doing well. She came right before the new year on the 28th, so it's awesome. Life we're adjusting. Luckily, I work in an awesome school that said, "Hey, take as much time off as you need." So I don't like the sub plan, so I just took 5 days off. I was like, you know what, I just need an extra week and we'll be good. So everybody's adjusting. Her name is Lennon Ann, so I don't know if people like the name. I don't really
We
mind
love
sharing
the
with
name.
anything. Yeah, so yeah, we're adjusting.
I love
So
it, and it going from 4 to 5, is a bit of an adjustment, but you're seasoned at it, so you know what you're doing.
listen, one to two was the hardest. From there on out, it's been it's easy.
I tell people that all the time. That like after 1 to 2, it's like playing zone defense, right? You're just
Yeah.
adjusting your zones, and you make it work. So we are so happy for you guys. Congratulations again, and to all our listeners. We had a brief hiatus for the holidays, and then Chip had his baby, and I was also on vacation, so we took a couple weeks off on the podcast. But we are back. We've got some great guests lined up over the next couple weeks, and we've got some fun episodes. So we're gonna jump right into it tonight. So first thing I want to jump into is the latest news at Disney World. Chip, we've got After Hours are back, and I'm not sure how big of a fan you are of After Hours, but they're back at Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Magic Kingdom. Chip, what's your vibe with After Hours events?
So I actually planned our last trip around after hours. So we went to those parks based on it. It was more or less we didn't need to just e-ticket attractions. It was like, hey, let's go ride Spaceship Earth. Let's go to the Seas with Nemo. At Magic Kingdom, we rode. My kids wanted to ride Big Thunder Mountain, so rode it twice. I mean, yeah, there's you can walk on rides. Like we walked on Pirates. It's not too bad. I don't mind it. It's not for everybody though. Like your kids got to
It's
be the ones
expensive.
that, yeah,
It's expensive.
it
I
is.
mean, I think Epcot is 149, and they go up to 169, and you're getting 3 extra hours beyond the normal park hours.
And
You can come in
now,
earlier. You can come in before the park closes, right? But in terms of extra hours where the park is closed, you get 3 hours. Which
and
one
you
thing
that's
that's
the that's the unlimited ice cream and popcorn, right? And
you
pop.
do you get some snacks included, and the majority of the rides are open. Like the Tron has a standby wait at the after hours events at Magic Kingdom, which is huge, especially because that ride is so much better at night. I think that's a big deal for people that really want to make sure they get to ride it. And so that's kind of built into the cost, right? It's like an individual lightning lane for that is like $20. So you might as well just, park that into the cost. But what's interesting is they're starting to change the hours. Like Magic Kingdom on some Fridays at the end of January and beginning of February are going to be open till 11. So it's like if you've got one of those days in your vacation, the after hours isn't going to be a huge ad, especially at the cost. That's kind of the thing to me is that it's not like a party event, and it can be a little bit on the expensive side. So, but if you've got the room in your budget, I think they're awesome to check out. Parents doing a date night there. My wife and I did a date night at an after hours at Magic Kingdom while my in-laws watched the kids. Awesome. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun for two parents to get out and go ride some rides and spend some time together at the parks. And we really enjoyed it. So definitely check those out if you get a chance and it's in your budget. The big one, Festival of the Arts, started up this week. It's short, right?
It's the shortest other than holiday festival, right?
Yeah, so it ends February 19th. So we're getting in and out. And if you saw any of the stuff on social media about it when it opened, it was the Hunger Games for popcorn buckets that light up with Figment. Chip and I are not popcorn bucket guys. If you are, that's your thing. Like, more power to you. But there is no way I am waiting in line for a light up popcorn bucket. Although I will say, Chip, did you see it? It was pretty cool.
All right, so I'm a big fan of it. It looks sweet, but somebody put on X today the Guts. Remember Guts, the Nickelodeon Guts, the Mega Rock that they would
Yes.
hold up after the someone held it up and said, "Hey, look, it's the new popcorn bucket." I was like, "Yeah, they're right. That's funny."
I thought it was funny too. I saw that meme and it was good. But let me ask you a related question here, Chip. Where do you stand with Figment?
I actually like Figment. I
But you're not obsessed with Figment, right?
No, I don't own anything Figment. I think I would say he is Epcot's mascot. I guess you could say.
Fair.
Um, I remember riding the original Figment ride with Dreamfinder, so I'm a big fan of that. Um,
It's got that
I
history and nostalgia and whatever. But like,
and I can't
I'm
wait to meet
sorry.
him. I want to meet him. I want to meet him, but like I'm not gonna wait in line for it like super long. But I would love to see him.
That's the same thing I think Matt Richardson said when he was on was, that he wanted to meet Figment, but he wasn't going to wait in line. And I think that's a fair assessment. The problem that I have with it is every single bit of merch at Epcot has Figment in it,
Yeah,
especially for Festival of the Arts because he's in the logo. So like all of it is purple and all of it's Figment, and that's cool. But and the Spirit jersey looked really cool. I'm a Spirit jersey guy. I'm wearing a Run Disney Spirit jersey as we record. I'm comfortable. I love them, and I would get the one for the Festival of the Arts with Figment on it. But like there, there comes a point where it's like too much Figment, and that may be a hot take to the people that are obsessed with Figment, but it's a little much for me sometimes. So, Festival of the Arts is kicking off. The food looks fantastic. It all looks great. It's a great festival. One of my favorite artists I've bought pieces from is Noah Fine Art. I think he's located in Germany around number 14. If you go down, definitely check him out because he's got some of the best art. He does airbrush stuff, and it is awesome. And he's a wonderful follow on social media in terms of just having a positive outlook on life and sharing a positive attitude. So definitely check out his art and his social media if you get a chance. Chip, anything
I'm
else
going.
that like
Yeah, I think the I saw something today that if you do the Festival of the Art challenge or whatever, there's a kind of a cool reward at the end. You get like a Figment or a Mickey that you can paint. I like the paint your own square thing. I just think Festival of the Arts is it's kind of one of those things that gets overshadowed because it's only about a month long, 5 weeks long. So it's something definitely I want to make it more of a priority to go. Like I would think that's probably like I've said before, I think it's the best festival.
I can argue with you about the best festival, but it used to be that when we would do our January trip, like the first or second full week of January, we would catch it at the end. And my daughter loved to do the paint by numbers because you feel like you're a part of something bigger. You get to paint a couple of the numbers. It's a really unique experience. Kids love it. There's a lot of cool stuff to do and walk around and see. And you get the good food that Epcot always has, the unique stuff. I think I saw an Encanto dish that a themed dish that looked really, really good. And the food in Japan really stuck out to me as looking really good. There were some braised ribs, I believe, in Germany that looked pretty awesome. It's goes without saying, if you're down there during this festival, you need to make it a priority. And it's
Yeah.
a good option for kids. There's a lot of fun stuff for them to do too, and there's some different hunts you can do for Festival of the Arts and stuff like that. So definitely check it out. I had a chance, speaking of Epcot, while we were down on our recent trip, to check out the Walt statue.
Oh,
And the surrounding area. And I wish I would have had a chance to see it at night. But the Walt statue is really, really well done. And I didn't have to wait 20 minutes to get a photo with Walt. I did take a couple with the PhotoPass photographers there. And it's an awesome area. If you're a Disney fan, you should definitely check it out. The other thing that we got to do for the first time with the kids was Journey of Water. And I was
ooh,
really, it's another one that I wish I would have been able to do at night. But when you have kids, the amount of times you're going to stay out late at night are limited, and we try to choose, Hollywood Studios and Magic Kingdom for those nights. But I really wish that we would have gotten to do Journey of Water at night. But man, the baby, especially the 1.5-year old, just loved all the water stuff. And
Yeah,
all of our kids enjoyed it. And I would, oh man, like I think any kids are going to have fun there, especially if they're under like 8. It is a blast. Even when it's a little colder outside, there's areas where the parents can stay dry. And man, the kids absolutely ate it up and loved it. So definitely check out Journey of Water. Props to Disney for that. I wish that, and my brother-in-law pointed this out several times. Moana should be getting a lot more respect in the parks. I think like Tiana's Bayou should have been like a Moana ride. Moana should be a higher priority, I think, and having just the walkthrough instead of a full blown e-ticket attraction, I think is disappointing. But it's well done. It's
yeah,
well
I
done.
agree. Moana's such a it's a great movie. It's a great character. I've not heard the water ride. That's actually a good take. The only reason I thought it might Disneyland's the only spot that where I could see, okay, Tiana does belong there with the Bayou and Orleans Square down there. I mean, that kind of makes sense, but that's a good take though. Moana probably that'd fit in really well there.
It would, and like when you talk about expansion with people that are not Disney nerds like you and I are, you talk about Encanto and Coco, and Moana only getting a walkthrough is disappointing on that front, especially when you start talking about Indiana Jones. Like who even watches Indiana Jones anymore? Indiana Jones does not need a new area. But that's a rant for a different day. Another update: the Disney dining plans are live. This is a very short plug, but we have a calculator on the website at adventuresofdisneyland.com that will tell you, based on what you prefer, your party size, your dates, and the cost, whether or not it makes sense for you from a financial perspective. It'll tell you how much money you'll save, which dining plan would be best. Definitely check it out, and give us some feedback if you have any on that. But the dining plans are live, and one of the things that I noted was Gideon's does not accept the Disney dining plan. You really have to pay attention, because there's a few that do accept it, and then there's a lot that don't. And they just added the lounges are accepting them. So that brings a little different dynamic to what your options are in terms of the Disney dining plan. So there's been a ton of talk on social media about the dining plan offer right now, where you can get a free Disney dining plan with certain packages or discounted Disney dining plans, so on and so forth, being a scam because the Disney dining plan isn't worth it, and people don't use all their credits and all this other stuff. And I'm going to tell you, that's part of the reason why I created this calculator is because so many people would come to me as guests booking trips and they're like, I don't know if I should do the dining plan. Is it worth it or is it not worth it? And I tell them, look at what you're going to do in the parks and where you're going to eat, plug it into this calculator, and it'll tell you if it's worth it or not. But the gist is if you have kids that are going to be dining at table service meals, the dining plan usually will save you money. Now, of course, it's not going to save you money if you don't use all the credits. That's common sense, right? Like if you get to your last day and you've still got all your snack credits left, you probably have broken even or you're losing money on buying the dining plan. Part of doing this is that you're going to actually use all the pieces of the dining plan. Otherwise,
One
don't get it.
one of the things they took away two snacks. You only get one snack now.
Mhm.
Like for my kids, okay, we'll be walking around and hey, we're thirsty. So we get a Coke for $4. That's a snack. And okay, we just got one and we'll share it amongst the family. Now I wouldn't get a water, but I'll get a Coke or something like that, or a coffee or something like that. I mean, it's one of those that I'm a big dining plan guy. We love using it because we plan our meals that way. Like we're gonna go like this upcoming trip, we're going to Boma. Boma's $60 for an adult, and that I
And
mean sixty
that's the
dollars,
thing. If you're a
and you get a
travel hacker
drink.
like Chip, if you're a travel hacker like Chip, where you actually pay attention to maximizing these things, so going to the restaurants that are more expensive than the cost of the dining plan, you are going to save money. Now, if
Yeah.
you waste your credits at like doing 2 credits at Cinderella's Royal Table, don't do the dining plan. That's just a waste. The one thing I will say too is a caveat, and I'm kind of like this. If you don't like tracking this stuff, don't do it. Like if you don't want to have to keep track of how many, credits you have left or where you're using them or whatever, don't mess with it. Especially like I have a client that was booking a package for 14 people today. And five of them are teenagers. If you don't want to like be tracking where they're getting their credits or if they're using them or whatever, then don't mess with the dining plan. It's just a hassle
Yeah.
at that point and it's too stressful. But if you are more inclined to pay attention to that stuff and you want to save money on your trip and you want to plan out your dining reservations, you can absolutely save a very good amount of money. And you can check out the calculator on our website that'll help you figure all that out to see how much exactly you're going to save.
The quick
Go
service
ahead.
time. We got to talk about the quick service. So the right Disney dining plan, the original, is a quick service, a snack, and a sit down restaurant credit per day. The quick service, which is significantly cheaper, is two quick service meals and a snack. Oh, you also get a refillable mug if you get the dining plan,
And that's for both of
and
them. You get the resort refillable mug
yeah,
for both dining plans.
and it. I have a buddy who only gets the quick service, and he's an annual pass holder, and he loves it because he's like, I don't want to sit down. We like to go get tacos at Mexico. We like to stop at
Oh yeah,
Yorkshire to get
you
fish.
know how I am about the tacos in Mexico. The one thing I'll say about the quick service dining plan is it's harder to save money, and it's only
Yeah,
because all of the quick service spots are kind of capped out in terms of price, so you can't get that BOMA where it's a huge savings in one meal. Because Casey's and the taco stands and a lot of those quick service spots, you're not spending more than 12 or $13 for your entree. If you can find a quick service spot that has an entree that's 25 bucks or something, then you're talking about serious savings. The
I would say
biggest
here at Epcot, I think the quick service. If you're a big Epcot person, I think the quick service is the best thing because you can get a beer. So if you
Yeah,
go to
well,
Yorkshire Fish, you get a
yes.
meal and then a drink.
And that's part of it with both of the dining plans, right? Is the specialty beverage is something that depending on the restaurant, you can get an expensive specialty beverage and you're saving money. But again, it goes back to like if that's not something you would normally do,
Yeah,
it may not be savings to you, right?
correct.
But I think the dining plan is all what you make of it, and don't get down in the weeds of these people on Facebook and TikTok. I saw a TikTok about it saying it was a scam, and it was like nails on a chalkboard to me as to how irritating it was. Because yes, it does not work for some people, but there is absolutely opportunities to save quite a bit of money in compared to just paying out of pocket for the same restaurants. So I'll get off my dining plan soapbox for a second. I think that kind of covers the news. We're going to do a little bit of a trip recap. We're going to talk about some of the spots that my family went to on our trip last week and some of the things that we experienced. We're going to talk a little bit about Disney Springs in general because we spent a lot of time there while we were staying at Saratoga Springs, checking out different restaurants. Gideon's and Summer House were two of the big ones that stuck out. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. There's two things that I want to they're more news related. I want to mention off of the jump. It was Walt Disney World Marathon weekend while we were down there. Congratulations to all the runners who did Dopey, the 5K, the 10K, the half, the full marathon. The half marathon got prematurely cut in half, so down to a little less. I think it was 6.1 miles because of the
No,
weather.
7.1.
7.1. A lot of people were really disappointed. Even me as a not runner, not running this weekend. I've done lots of Run Disney events, but I did not run this weekend. I was disappointed because the rain was not that bad, and I don't even think it was ever forecasted to be that bad. So the way that they were quick to pull the trigger the night before with that kind of weather, where Run Disney events have had significantly worse weather before, I think it was just disappointing. That said, they're professionals. They deal with weather people, and maybe they saw something different that the majority of us didn't see. But I can understand the disappointment there. The biggest thing I want to mention about this, Chip, they've been doing the marathon there for I think over 30 years at this point,
Yes.
something like that, or close to it. What was it? Yeah, yeah. Because I ran it in 2023, and my medal was the 30th anniversary. So
Okay.
31 years they've been doing the marathon there. There were buses that were taking over an hour to get to the parks, almost that entire day until 2 or 3 p.m. There is no way that they should have this kind of traffic problem for marathon weekend, particularly on the marathon day. The rest of the days was fine. But I had multiple people texting me pictures sitting on completely full buses. I was on one myself. We didn't wait 45 minutes, but it was definitely 30 plus to get to a park. And the buses were just completely off schedule. They were taking forever. And how they don't have this figured out after 30 years, I don't understand.
Now let me ask this: being a marathoner that's running Disney, what time do they get to Magic Kingdom? What time are you getting there?
Very early. So I want to say it's like it's between miles 3 and 7. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah,
Um,
well, 'cause,
it's
I
somewhere
mean,
around there.
I get, and then you work your way through Animal Kingdom, like you head that way, right? Which is
Yeah.
a not very busy road. Driving that's what I drove when we were down there this past summer. That road, I would see maybe one or two cars, and you'd see a
The
bus because
entirety of the marathon, so the very last person is out of Magic Kingdom, I would say by 8 a.m. By
yeah,
8 a.m. the marathon is not in Magic Kingdom anymore. I would guess. It's got to be somewhere around there that they are like cleaning it up because you have to run a 16-minute mile before they pick you up off the course.
yeah.
And the last waves are out, on the course by like 5:30 in the morning. So to me, it blew my mind. Like we were at Epcot in the middle of the afternoon where people were finishing, and I can understand expecting that to be crowded because that's where you're starting and finishing. It's a mess in that area. But the fact that all of the theme park buses were just a complete, crap show after 30 years just doesn't make any sense to me. Let's talk about the fun stuff, man.
Oh yeah.
So for first night we were there, we got to go to Summer House, and I've got a lot to say about Summer House on the Lake. And I think I texted you that night, and I was like, Chip, first episode back on the podcast, we got to talk about this, right?
Well, and I was kind of fired up because I watch YouTubers all the time, and I saw the cookie bar, and I'm like, listen, I'm an offensive lineman. I love a good cookie, and there's good cookies at Disney Springs, as we'll talk about.
There are far better cookies at Disney Springs than the cookie bar. And let me say this: the Summer House on the Lake cookie bar is the most overrated piece of food I have ever eaten at Disney World. And that's not an exaggeration. I think my wife and my kids and my in-laws would all agree. It is not a hot cookie. So you see those pictures of those big cookies, it's not hot, it's not fresh. It is more like a cold, like on the outside cooked, but on the inside cookie dough type of cookie.
Yeah.
It was like I would give it like a 2 out of 10. I would never pay for it again. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
Yes. And we tried a lot of them. We tried the birthday cake, we tried the chocolate chip, we tried I think it was a triple chocolate chip, we tried snickerdoodle. So we didn't have just like one bad cookie here.
Yeah.
They were all like that. And like, look,
Wow.
I'm not a cookie hater. If there were no other options at Disney Springs, am I going to eat that cookie? Heck yeah, I'm going to eat that cookie, right? But it is not what the vloggers and bloggers and YouTubers have been hyping it up to be. It is not what it looks like on social media in terms of like I feel like they're very photogenic cookies. They're great pictures. The restaurant itself is different. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the cookie bar is completely overrated. It does not hold a candle to Gideon's. I would probably put the cookie, if I didn't already give it a full grade, I'd give it like a 2.5 or 2.6 out of 10.
Okay.
It was one of the most disappointing things we ate the entire vacation. So that
Wow.
is my rant on the cookie bar at Summer House on the Lake.
Okay.
Try it, try it. Everybody should try it. I encourage everybody to try it. But if you agree with me, let us know.
So
That said,
let's go to the meal then. Let's talk about the meal.
the meal was fantastic. The meal was really good. It was affordable. There were a lot of different options. They've got pizza, they've got tacos, they've got a chicken sandwich, they've got great salads, they've got pasta, and we tried a little bit of everything. I had the chicken sandwich. My wife and my mother-in-law had the pasta. We had shrimp tacos. The guacamole appetizer was awesome. The food was really, really great, and it was affordable. It was not a very expensive restaurant. I would absolutely eat there again. I think I'd put it in my, I don't know, probably in my top 15 maybe. I'd have to go
Okay.
back and look at like where I would rank different restaurants, but I would absolutely prioritize going there again. It was worth it.
Wow,
But the
that's
cookie
nice.
bar was I would rather eat there and then go to Gideon's after. I think Chip, we're gonna make sure you get a reservation for it. Excuse me, on your next trip.
Do it early, and I know I'm a dining plan person, but I think I'm gonna pay out cash for that one. It's affordable.
The aesthetic of it is awesome too. It's like a clean, white, beachy vibe because it's based on a restaurant out in California. It's a California-based menu. The food was great. The aesthetic was awesome. And they've got some cool merch in there too. Like I debated buying a sweatshirt because it just was like a cool. I really liked the look of the sweatshirt and stuff in there. But they've got some cool stuff. Definitely check it out if you get a chance. I would definitely recommend making a reservation if you can get one. I think right now they're still only on Open Table, not in the My Disney Experience app. So if you're not seeing it, that's probably why in terms of reservations. And also, what was really cool with them, they were really flexible. I only had a reservation for five, and I called them and asked them to up it to eight, and they did it immediately without any kind of pushback. And it
Wow.
was on New Year's Day.
Yeah, that's right.
So dinner on New Year's Day, I thought would be hard to pull that off, but they were great about it. So shout out to the staff there at Summer House on the Lake for everything except your cookies. Moving on, we Gideon's. My kids and I had Gideon's for the first time. We were at Saratoga Springs, so it was like where our room was located was a 10-minute walk from our being in my room over to World of Disney.
Were
That's how
you
fast it was.
were you Congress Park, that
We
area?
were right off of Congress Park in the paddock. So like
Yeah, oh, Paddock.
we were
Okay,
so
yeah, yeah,
close. Yeah, we were so close to Congress Park that we used the Congress Park bus stop, not the
yeah. Okay.
paddock bus stop. So you walk right through there to the back of Disney Springs, and you come out by Earl of Sandwich, World of Disney, Art of Disney, that area. And so it was a short 10-minute walk. I walked over almost every morning to get Starbucks. I rope dropped Disney Springs. Aren't you proud of me, Chip? I rope dropped
Yeah,
like 5 days in a row somewhere.
I know you.
Universal, like I mean, I was doing the Chip life. And Disney Springs, I think, is something that gets forgotten about, especially for new Disney planners. Like I was talking to a family today that they had never heard of Disney Springs, and there's a lot of cool stuff to do. Chip, I know you guys love spending time there.
Yes, it's a must do.
It really is. Where does Gideon's? And I asked a poll on Instagram about would you wait 30 minutes for Gideon's cookies, and I surprisingly got a lot of no's. I think it was like less than 30% were no, and then the other 70+% were heck yes. Chip, where do you stand on Gideon's for you personally?
Big fan.
Okay. How long
Easy.
would you wait for Gideon's?
I'd wait 30 minutes. Now they've gone away from the virtual queue. So when
No,
we
they've
went
got
in
it back.
18,
Yeah, they've got well, they only do it if the line is like longer, I think than like 45 minutes.
yeah,
They do a text back virtual queue. So
yeah.
you walk up to get in line, you give them your phone number, and they'll text you when it's time for you to come back.
So when we went in 2021, they text. I tried to do it 2 days. The one day we just didn't go back, and then the next day I was like, "Hey, you text me back," but that was like 4 hours ago. They're like, "Oh, you're good. Go ahead and get in line." And the line, even when they say the line, it's 20 minutes, and then you're inside. And the aesthetics awesome, but I mean that when they don't have a virtual queue, it moves pretty quickly.
Yeah, so it was rainy the day that I was there, and so there weren't a ton of people in line. They told me it was a 30-minute wait. I waited about 20 minutes, and man, it's so awesome in there. They had me wanting to buy candles, like the smells. They got candles by the cash register. I was like, man, I'll take one of these. That thing smelled so good, like cookies. And but I think you were the one that pointed it out to me, the peanut butter cold brew. I
Oh,
got it because of my friendship recommended it, and it was the best coffee I've ever had. I'm not a coffee guy, right? So I'm not one that can grade coffees like I can grade cookies. But it tasted like a peanut butter milkshake,
mhm.
and you couldn't get any of that like nasty coffee taste at all. It just was awesome.
I'm not a cold brew at all. Like I hate cold coffee. I drink my coffee hot and black. Done it my whole life. That's the only thing I'll go and I'll be like, because you're right. It's like it's a coffee smoothie, I guess, but it's unreal. I have no idea.
For me, coffee is a means to an end. I just want the caffeine boost, and that's it. Since I stopped drinking soda, so like the only thing I care about is like just get this in my body as quickly as possible. So for me, I actually enjoyed that. It was really good. I definitely recommend you try it out. The cookies, they're the best cookies I've ever had.
Correct.
Best cookies I've ever had, and it's not particularly close. Then like a far drop below that is crumble. So if that gives you, if you have a crumble cookies in your area and you know what crumble is, there is a very, very significant drop off between Gideon's and crumble. Would you agree with
Correct.
that?
Oh, yes. And I've only had like a couple of the crumble, like the pieces of. I don't go out and I make pretty good cookies, so I avoid that. But Gideon's is one of those we stop early on in the week and I'll buy a dozen maybe or half a dozen, and then we put them in the fridge and we'll cut it up for the kids. And we take a lot of times we just take them home, like, but it's we have to go there. My wife finally was like, she gets mad at me because I always try the different ones, and she doesn't like nuts and things, but I always get like I got
Yeah.
the banana nut the one time or whatever, and oh, they're so
My
good.
wife got mad at me because there was a pistachio one and I didn't get it. And I want six of the chocolate chip. And for those of you that haven't had Gideon's, each cookie is almost a half a pound. So
Yes.
like when Chip says you get six, which is exactly what we did. We got six towards the beginning of the trip, and then you just cut up little pieces throughout the week. They lasted until the end of our trip, and they're
Yeah.
still just as good. I don't know that I would like bring them home after like a week. I don't think that they'll like still be as good at that point. But man, whew, Gideon's to
Hey,
me it's a must.
how did the chocolate chips not melt? Like that's where it blows my mind.
Yeah, and when you see these, you're gonna know what Chip's talking about. They're huge chocolate chips, and they're just covered on the cookie, and they're not melted. And I don't get it either. I thought about it for a long time. I'm guessing they cook them and then they put them on there like as they're cooling or something. I don't know,
I don't know
but
either.
good, good for them because I know it's a small business. They've got two locations in the Orlando area, so support their business. Definitely check them out. I think it's a must at Disney Springs, and it is the one thing that like is not overhyped. It is as good as advertised every single time. And my wife is not easy to please on these kinds of things, and I think that she would agree with me. So definitely make Gideon's a priority. Um, Next thing I want to talk about, and while I'm on my kind of ranting of learnings here, Chip, we made the decision in the middle of our trip to buy tickets for Universal. I love Universal. Shout out to all the Universal folks that listen because I know there's a few of them that are probably going to give me a really hard time about saying this. Universal without Express Pass is an absolute waste if you have children under the age of 8.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that one more time. Universal without Express Pass is a waste when you have kids under the age of 8 because there's just not enough there for them to ride, and every single thing that you can ride has a long wait, and the Express Pass is expensive. It is expensive. It's not like Genie Plus where it's 25 or $30 a person. The day that we went, we spent for 8 people. Well, I take that there's 7 people's tickets. So we had tickets for seven. It was a little over $1,800 for one day of tickets for 7 people. Okay. And then Express Pass would have been another 149 a person. Yeah. So one day at Universal would have been pushing like what, 3 grand for one day of just tickets and Express Pass, and that's it. I looked into the trick of booking a premier hotel to get express pass for free, all that kind of stuff. It didn't make sense for us. I do it for people all the time. So, certainly if you're interested in Universal, I'm not saying don't go to Universal. Universal is awesome. But like I really think if you have little kids, you have to have express pass because waiting in line sucks.
Yeah.
And for the adults, you can't go ride, you can't go wait 120 minutes for Velocicoaster with kids. They can't ride it. And Universal's awesome because they're different in their child swap than Disney. They have rooms that the kids can sit in with a TV, but that doesn't get them out of waiting in line. You still got to wait in the line. And so like you can't just chuck your kids iPads for 2 hours and do Velocicoaster and expect them to just hang out. They want to go and do stuff, and there's not a ton of stuff they can do. Now, if you have Express Pass and you're going to wait 5 minutes, then the parents can sneak a ride in like Velocicoaster or Escape from Gringotts or something like or the Hulk. You can do those kinds of things. Can't do it without Express Pass. So if you've got kids, man, plan accordingly is my thought process there. We ended up spending only like a half a day at Universal and spent 1,800 bucks. And it was worth it because my kids love the Minions and the
Yeah.
Minions area there is awesome. My brother-in-law wanted to see the Harry Potter stuff, so we got to walk through it all, but there just wasn't a ton to be able to do and ride. So, man, that was the only kind of rough day of our trip, I think. Because you're
Well,
talking two Ubers too, $50 each way. It was not a cheap learning experience. Tip.
yeah, you guys,
That's
your kids were tired because you rope dropped, so it means you had to get up early because you had a 25-minute Uber ride. You text me about midway through. You're like, yeah, we're gonna head back now.
Yeah, and I don't say that lightly, like I said, because I've got a lot of friends that work at Universal, and I know that some of them listen. But I think you just have to really plan your trip if you've got little kids going to Universal, and all that's going to change with Epic Universe and some of the stuff that they're building. They're going to have a lot more options for kids, and I think that's fantastic. But also, people are going to be a lot more spread out.
Yeah.
People are not going to be at Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios the way that they're going to be they are right now because they're going to be spread over other parks, in the future years. So
Well,
that's going to be interesting to see.
it's one of those that you also have little kids that and they have more thrill rides. And we were talking with Holly about the Horror Nights, Halloween Horror Nights, and she said it's more of an older kids event, and
Yeah.
that kind of fits the bill there.
And I knew it going into it that like there was a lot of stuff that was going to be, not geared to my kids. But my hope was like you could squeeze in one or two adult rides, like I can hang with the kids and my wife and brother-in-law can go ride Velocicoaster or whatever. But there was like the majority of the stuff was 120 minutes. And you just can't squeeze away for that kind of thing. And so to me, it's like if you're going to try and pull that off, whereas the adults get to get one or two attractions in while the kids do something else, you've got to have express. And I think that's a tough lesson that I learned. I think I knew it in my gut going into it, but it really hammered it home for me. And it's a good experience that, like, I tell guests that all the time, but now I've lived it and I can talk about it a little bit more. The last thing I want to end on, and I thought the parks were crowded for the first part of our trip, which I expected. We used Genie Plus, and Chip, I think we're going to find out more of how you feel about this on your next trip. But Genie Plus, I think, is losing its luster a little bit.
Ooh,
And the reason I say that is so many people are buying it that the attractions you buy it for are gone. So, like, if you do Slinky Dog in the morning, and then maybe your second ride, you have the option of Tower of Terror at 5 p.m., Rock and Roller Coaster at 5 p.m., Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway at 6:30. If you pick one of those, right? Like, say you pick Tower of Terror at 5 o'clock, because that's the way it's gonna go, right? Like, as they get
yeah,
booked up, the time gets later. So you pick Slinky Dog, then you pick Tower of Terror, By the time your next 2 hour allotment comes up, because you're not going to be able to like scan in and ride Tower of Terror and Slinky Dog to get a new one, by the time it comes up, Mickey and Minnie's is gone or at 9 o'clock, and Rock and Roller Coaster is gone or at 9 o'clock, and you're left with, I don't want to call it junk, but you're left with like character meets, shows, and stuff that you don't want to use Genie Plus on.
Yeah.
And I think the same can be said for all of the parks. Like I felt that way when we used it at Epcot on popular days. Like,
Which Magic Kingdom's, I think, the only one that you could really say because they have the most options, in my opinion. I know what you're saying. Epcot's one that, like, do I really need to use the Genie Plus to go get on Living with the Land? No, but
but we did the one day we did Frozen. So Genie Plus we used Frozen. We didn't get Remy's because we picked Frozen first, and Remy's was gone by the time your 9 o'clock slot comes up. Remy's is gone. So to me, Frozen was the higher priority. But like, I don't remember what we chose. I think I chose because we were park hopping that day. So I think I chose something. I think I chose like Tower of Terror at night for
yeah,
my second selection. By the time my third selection rolls around, so it's at 11 a.m. Third selection rolls around. Test Track was gone. Like I couldn't even pick Test Track. I'm sitting there like, what else would you even use this on at Epcot? It's not gonna feel like a waste. If you've already you've lost Guardians, you've lost Test Track, you've lost Frozen, and you've lost Remy's. What are you using Genie Plus for at that point?
yeah, like Soren, you can normally get. I may not have been able
But
to get
like,
it then.
but what I mean, even if you could get it, why like, are you really getting your money's worth by using Genie Plus on Soren? So and there's a lot of people that like came to me and they were like, oh well, you've got a rope drop and use your Genie Plus right away because I stack Genie Plus, right? So
Yeah,
I pick the times and then I put them all in like the same kind of area. So from like 5 to 9 p.m., all of my Genie Pluses are in that same time period, so that I can go back to the resort and hang out, and then my kids come back and we don't wait for anything. We just go ride to ride to ride to ride to ride, and then we leave. If you rope drop and you go straight to Frozen with your Genie Plus, and then you immediately select Remy's is not going to be until 3 hours later, and you're going to have to like whatever you go to next, you're going to have to wait in line for, which
yeah.
defeats the whole purpose of Genie Plus. Like, what's the point then?
So
And then you're getting back to the same problem.
yeah, and so how we've done it, and this is how I'll do it. So I know I'm giving you my advice, my tips, or whatever. Is if I'm going to Epcot, I'm booking Test Track or Frozen, one of those two. I am rope dropping Remy's because I'm going through either. Listen, here's a hot tip: go to Hollywood Studios and catch the Skyliners, and go through what's the International Gateway, and go right to Remy's because
But
you
that
know,
that that helps you get more attractions done, and I get that. Like for me, we were just skipping Remy's, right? But
yeah,
that doesn't take away the fact that like you rope drop Remy's, then you do Frozen, and then you do Soarin' or Test Track. You're having the same problem that I had, which is nothing's left. Like nothing's left
well,
that you'd want to use Genie Plus on. And
the,
but
the
but
only
but the,
the downfall that I have is, and the thing I don't like, and I get why they do it, is only being able to use it for one ride. Like, so you can only use it for Frozen once. Okay, I get that, but it's also like if there's availability, why can't I have it for
there's
later
never
on?
availability though. That's the
Yeah,
problem. Is like those rides are not going to be available. The issue, in my opinion, is that they need to make Genie Plus more expensive. I hate saying that, but like less people need to have it so that there's more options available later in the afternoon. Like there should not be a point, and this is just my perspective. It should be where you shouldn't ever have to wait more than 10 minutes, which is very similar to Express Pass, which is kind of ironic because I complained about it being so expensive. But there should never be a point where you're looking at Genie Plus. This is just my opinion, where you're looking at Genie Plus to make your next selection at any point during the day, and all of the rides are not available.
yeah.
Unless you're getting to like 6 p.m. where you're getting close to close, I can understand them starting to cut them off at that point. But like if you're at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you should be able to select any ride you want if you've paid for Genie Plus. That's my perspective. I'm cool with them keeping it where you can only ride them once. But if I buy Genie Plus at Epcot, I should be able to ride Frozen, Remy's, Test Track, Soarin', and not have an issue if I'm paying $20 a head or whatever. So that's my rant. Like I think they've got to keep. There's got to be some changes to Genie Plus. I think, and hopefully there are. But it's just becoming. It's come to the point where everybody's paying for it because they don't want to wait in line for anything. So that was just our experience.
How was the trip overall? Like I know we're going to talk about Saratoga and but how I know you went that week. How was it? How was the weather? How was that?
It was the weather was perfect. I can't complain at all about the weather. I think it was exactly, I'd say mid 60s to mid 70s every single day. And to me that's perfect. Like it's some days I wore pants, majority of days I wore shorts and a t-shirt or shorts and a hoodie. You bring a jacket with you just because at night or in the early morning it's gonna be cold. But otherwise it was awesome. I have no complaints about the weather. That's the main reason we love going in January. Saratoga is awesome. We ordered groceries and cooked the majority of our breakfasts. We cooked dinner once. We always made lunch for the kids. I took it in lunch boxes to the parks. I love Saratoga. It's I would absolutely recommend it to anybody. And we had a great trip. And I January is just to me it's the hidden gem of Walt Disney World vacations. I think it's the absolute best time to go. If you could go this week, the second week in January, there's nobody there.
Oh, it's
We
dead.
got stuck because January 1st it was still crowded from the holiday crowds, and it was awesome. It was awesome. I can't wait to go back. I'm trying to see if I can swing a Flower and Garden February trip. So we will see about that.
Hopefully our wives aren't listening, but we might see the podcast crew down there. Who knows? Who
There you
knows?
go. That's right. We might have to go live, like the vloggers walking around with our phones. But
I got a new
uh,
camera. I'm in. Let's do it.
I love it. I love it. That's gonna wrap it up for us. We're just under an hour. We appreciate you listening, and as always, feel free to reach out if you would like a quote or help with your next Walt Disney World or Universal vacation. Our services are completely free to you. I am a travel agent with the Magic for Less Travel. You can reach out to me through the Magic for Less or adventuresofdisneydad.com to get your free no obligation quote, and we would love to get started helping you on your next vacation. Thank you for your listening. We know you have a lot of choices when it comes to the content that you consume, and we appreciate you letting us be a little bit a part of your life and helping you learn a little bit more about Disney and enjoying our rants and tips and all that stuff. So follow us on social media. Chip, where can people find you?
Robinson Dad Life on Instagram. I always want to say Exchangeagram, but it's Instagram.
My man. And I am at Adventures of a Disney Dad on Facebook, Instagram. Please feel free to follow, reach out, DM questions. We've got a lot of fun guests and things planned for our next episodes, and we will see you there and in the parks.
See you when we see you.